Spanish Action Committee of Chicago was created as a response to the Division Street riots of 1966 that occurred due to the compounded effects of poverty, prejudice, and the displacement of Hispanics in Chicago. The committee's primary goal was to provide a voice for Chicago Latino citizens in order to create community organizing and demonstrate to this community that they could and needed to play a major role in determining and directing their destiny. On June 12, 1966, the first Puerto Rican parade in Chicago took place. It was during this parade that the first ever Puerto Rican riot in the U.S. occurred. The riot was a response to the shooting of a Puerto Rican man by Chicago police, and it lasted 3 days.
I was in my brother's house with his wife and his kids. And when I hear the whole thing, I came out and I see people running with palos, with sticks, and guns and things. Really, really big. They were protesting about a lot of things, That was a lot of abuse to the Puerto Rican, So they get together, I think they gave vengeance and everybody else, and they said that was really ugly. I don't even know those people to know about this, because that was like shameful. But at the same time, they were defending a cause,
So I think the riot triggered, but it was all these other things. And I think, so it was housing discrimination. It was the fact that, in terms of the school systems, that the poor schools, poor housing, not having equal access to employment. I think it was all of those things. Police brutality was also something that was affecting them, and what were the ways in which they were being stopped or harassed, in their own neighborhoods. So I think all of those things combined, that when this particular episode happened, it just became something that wound up erupting and became much greater than just the shooting itself. It became about all these things, and so. But I think it's also important to place it in the context of the 1960s. Daily, in this moment, of the early 1960s, everyone feared that there was going to be a huge riot in the African American community, as had happened in Watts, as had happened in Detroit, and things like that. So I think all of the energy was being placed on appeasing African Americans to a way, in a way that they were also ignoring what was happening in Puerto Rican communities that was very similar to what was happening in African American communities. And so then it was something that was very much unexpected. And I think that was the other thing, is that they weren't prepared to deal with the fact that you had this other population of people that decided that they had enough in terms of their treatment by the city itself.
The Division Street riots occurred because many Puerto Ricans felt that even though they were guaranteed rights as United States citizens, they were unable to enjoy these rights due to prejudice and discrimination from other Americans. Because of the lack of representation and organizing in the Latino community, many Latinos felt that there was no one to help fight for the rights of Latinos. This led to a sense of second-class citizenship.
Now you tell me what the hell these named Nazis got to come over here and cause all that disturbance about? For what reason? They shouldn't be interested in me or you, somebody else. In Mexico anymore, they should be interested about Italy, where I came from. What the heck they care about Italy or Germany or Poland? Who is the people come? We're in a peaceful community to march, insult everybody, and you're supposed to be here like this and take it? And they son of a bitch, you come that road, me, I shoot them right in the head. When they gonna learn to be American under these conditions? When they gonna learn?
It's hard to believe our own ancestors ever acted like that.
No, we've certainly come a long way since then. But now, these Puerto Ricans.
Yeah. Have you ever heard a bunch of them babbling together? Brother. You know something else? I understand most of them don't even bother to get married.
Well, that's what we have a welfare department for. Goodness knows we pay enough taxes.
Let me remind you of something many of us overlook when discussing the Puerto Rican situation. These people are not immigrants. By their birthright, this land belongs to them as much as it does to you or to me. They are citizens like us.
So it means that while you hold the status of U.S. citizen, you don't have all the rights that come with that status of U.S. citizen. And so that's what a lot of people tend to talk about when they talk about a second-class citizenship. So for example, Puerto Ricans on the island, although they're all considered U.S. citizens, they can't vote for U.S. president. So therefore, they don't have the same kind of, their citizenship is not the same kind of rights as other Puerto Ricans. This is the same thing that happened with African Americans in terms of fighting for voting rights, right? So while they were citizens, the fact that they couldn't vote meant that they didn't have full citizenship rights. So that's the distinction that people kind of talk about. In order to kind of deal with the situation, they thought that, okay, let's bring the War on Poverty funds in to think about job training, to think about education, to think about more social services in these communities. And so this is then also where you start to see the pop-up of different social service agencies among Puerto Ricans, whether, and that it turned out to be people that might have worked with different kinds of organizations, informal organizations, that then they decided that they were going to do these more formal organizations to get federal funding in order to support these community projects.
In 1966, the Spanish Action Committee of Chicago was founded by Juan Diaz and was one of the first Puerto Rican organizations in Chicago. The committee was created to bring about social change and be the voice of Latinos that they had been fighting for. Creating this committee was the first step for Latinos in organizing as one community and being represented as such.
Well, the Spanish Action Committee came into existence because of the riots of 1966, of June 1966. At that time, there was no leadership in the Puerto Rican community, and the Spanish Action Committee took the initiative to set up an organization and try to build out of this organization some leadership within the community.
The mission of the Spanish Action Committee of Chicago, we got him over there, but I can tell you, which is to motivate our community to get educated in order for us to be able to understand our rights. If you get an education, then you are going to learn how important it is for you to register and to vote. Okay, why? Because through education, we are going to be able to reach our goal, which is our goal to be able to one day to get possible social changes in our community. In 1966, there was no representation whatsoever. Today, for the better or for the worse, we can say we have a congressman by the name Luis Gutierrez in the United States Congress in Washington.
The Spanish Action Committee of Chicago continues to serve the Latino community today. The committee provides a variety of services that help the Latino community with issues such as housing, health and welfare, and civic relations. Over the past 48 years, the Spanish Action Committee has established a legal committee to open communications with police, as well as to work on problems arising between police and community residents. The committee has acted as an intermediary between police and local youth organizations, provided legal assistance for the community residents, and has attacked the community's lack of participation in the electoral process by creating a committee to conduct door-to-door canvassing, registration, and voter education. In all these ways, the committee has helped to fight for and protect the rights of Latinos in Chicago. The committee has also been instrumental in educating the community about their rights and getting Latinos to play a part in their communities. Through the committee's efforts, social change has been achieved, and as long as the committee is around, more change is expected.
The mentality, the philosophy never change and never will change. We're still fighting for our right. We are still fighting for what we believe, and we are well convinced that our people deserve the best because we are responsible, dedicated citizens